Welcome back to LimQ Plus, everyone. On this channel, I'm 100%ing Breath of the Wild by a bit every day until the sequel comes out, which today is in 164 days. We're getting, once again, a little bit closer to Tears of the Kingdom. I will talk about different topics every day while playing, and I hope you enjoy. Today, because I was recently kind of hinting at it, I wanted to briefly rank every area in Breath of the Wild. And I'm not necessarily going to make a tier list because it's kind of hard while playing, but I'm going to give every single area in the game a rating from 1 to 10 and briefly go into why I give those areas that rating. First of all, I can already give it away. There will not be a 10 out of 10 area in this game. 10 out of 10, in my opinion, means that I have simply no issues with an area, and that's just not the case. But nonetheless, let's get started. I'm going to be ranking the areas by towers, so whatever a tower reveals is going to be considered an area. And I'm going to start with the Hebra tower and the Hebra region. Now, in yesterday's video where I talked about frustrating things that the developers of this game may have not tested, I talked about my issue with Hebra, and that's what you can currently see, that this weather, this foggy, cloudy weather, is basically persistent 90% of the time. Hebra is an extremely interesting, beautiful region. Unfortunately, you can't see it. And that is my biggest frustration with Hebra right away. Also, it seems like this area has an increased spawn rate, maybe because there's a lot of empty spaces of stall enemies, which are pretty annoying to deal with, those skeleton enemies, which spawn at nighttime. And another frustrating thing casually, I think a lot of people agree with me on that one, is that the shrine diversity in Hebra is a little bit underwhelming. There's a lot of test of strength shrines. It's easy to get lost in, which is, after playing the game a lot, not really an issue anymore. It's just sad that you actually can't see where you are. Lots of test of strength shrines, but, and I will say, if it was constantly clear out here in Hebra, this would be one of my favorite areas. It has these hot springs, which are really nice. It has nice hidden areas like the Great Hebra Skeleton, the shield surfing challenge, and lots of good mechanics as well, in my opinion. But all things considered, unfortunately, because of how the weather is, the shrine diversity, and it's easy to get lost in, Hebra is going to get a 6 out of 10 for me, from me. It would be an 8 or 9 if the weather was different, because I actually quite like it. My only complaint then would be the shrine diversity, but with this weather, unfortunately, it is what it is. Now, the next area I'm going to talk about is the Woodland Tower and the Woodland area. The Woodland Tower mainly unlocks the Korok Forest, but it actually also unlocks the Forgotten Temple. I'm pretty sure the Forgotten Temple is technically part of the Woodland Tower area, which is surprising, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Don't quote me on that, but that's the last time I checked. I was surprised about that. So, Woodland Tower, Woodland area for me is, I would probably give it a 5 out of 10. It's a pretty bland area with not too much to do, but it still gets a 5 because it does have some highlights, like the Master Sword and the Forgotten Temple. Visually, it's kind of whatever. It's kind of a mix of Eldin and Tabantha, nothing special at all. There's like a swamp area here. So it's not the best, in my opinion. It has highlights, which is the reason the score isn't lower. But other than that, it's a really forgettable area. And I don't think I've heard anyone ever say that their favorite area is the Woodland area. So that's simply why it's the middle, kind of forgettable area. But it does have some highlights if you really look into it. The Eldin Tower is next, and the Eldin Tower might be my lowest rating of this bunch. I really don't like Eldin. I know there's some Eldin enjoyers out there, but the geography, the visual aesthetic, the entire quest line up there, none of that was really enjoyable for me. So I would probably give the Eldin region in this game a 3 out of 10. It had some cool mechanics like the minecarts and I guess that's it. No, there's got to be something else, right? The minecarts and the yeah, I like the minecarts, I guess. I feel like that's pretty much it. There's some pretty cool shrines here. on the volcano, and especially here in the foothill area, but I'm actually not sure right now if the foothill area is unlocked through the Lanayru tower. No, I don't think it is. There's some cool shrines in this area, but other than that, it's also pretty annoying for speedrunning, especially because it's really hard to perform wind bombs on this terrain. So overall, not very fond of the Eldin area. It's going to be a 3 out of 10 from me. Next up is going to be the Akkala tower. And the Akkala region is probably going to get an 8 out of 10 from me. Aesthetically, it is one, if not the prettiest area in the game. We have these different tree aesthetics, we have nice bridges, nice open areas, but with lots to explore. The Spring of Power is there, and also the, in my opinion, aesthetically most pleasing place in the entire game, which is the Akkala Citadel. That building is just so cool looking, with that little, like, the parade ground ruins on the bottom. This absolutely towering structure of which we confirmed recently, highest tower in the game. We have Terrytown here, which is amazing. This structure, which is cool to explore in the first playthrough. Zunakai and Skull Lake. Another tech lab, another maze. Like, overall, Akkala is so strong. And there's only one area I like more that you might disagree with. You might disagree with me, but this is an 8 out of 10 for me. Super strong area, love it. Akkala is great. Now we're going to go to the left again, and we're going to talk about the Tabantha Tower. The Tabantha Tower in the Tabantha region is underwhelming. There's not much to explore here other than Rito Village, which is an amazing city and cool storyline. But a lot of the Akkala Tabantha Tower is this empty canyon. We find like one shrine here, 10 Koroks. Occasionally we see Dinral roaming around down there, which is, I guess, cool, but that is not enough for me to give it a high rating. Now, there's also 2 cool minigames here, being the foothill race and also the golf course. They're fine. Actually, the foothill race might technically be part of the Ridgeland region, but in general, the Tabantha region, underwhelming to say the least. Rito Village, solid, but it's going to be a 4 out of 10 for me. It doesn't have the same highlights that the Woodland Tower has, and it's overall just a whatever region, in my opinion. There's nothing that really sticks out where I'm like, yeah, Tabantha is great. I do actually like the area here at the Ancient Columns. Maybe it's also a 5 out of 10, because it's aesthetically better than the Woodland Tower. It has less highlights like the Forgotten Temple, but it's fine. It's fine. It's in whatever region. It has some good points, but overall kind of forgettable. Next up is the Ridgeland Tower. The Ridgeland Tower is gonna be, that I think is a good candidate for a 4 out of 10 region. It's not as bad as Eldin for me, but it's not pretty at all, in my opinion. We have this area here, I think it's called the Breach of the Mice. Yep. I think the lore here is that like one of the lasers was fired through here from the ancient battle long ago. We have this area, which is at least aesthetically very different than the rest of the game, with these big mushroom-like trees, and the Thundra Plateau, which I hated casually. It was really annoying to solve. But I guess it looks cool and has some Zonai architecture, but other than that, it's a small, not pretty, decent region with some memorable moments, but not necessarily for the better. Like, I don't know if it's good that I remember the Tundra Plateau, because it's kind of, yeah, I'm just not a big fan of it. Also, I must have missed that balloon. I don't know how that was possible. Talent, I guess. Now, the next tower, if I'm not mistaken, should be the Central Tower if we go to the right from here. Yeah, I think that's fair. The Central Tower. Now, the Central Tower and the Central Hyrule region is really average if it wasn't for Hyrule Castle. Obviously, Hyrule Castle, in my opinion, is the coolest, most intricate dungeon in the game. Some people don't agree that Hyrule Castle is a dungeon. It really is. In my opinion, it has its own map, just like Divine Beast. It has so much lore to it, so much great music, so much to explore, strong weapons. And even in Central Hyrule, there's just some really cool references to past Zelda games, like the Lon Lon Range, Mabe Village Ruins. I think overall, it is obviously the centerpiece of the game, Central Hyrule, and especially because Hyrule Castle hard carries that region, that will get a 6 out of 10 for me. It's not in my favorites, but it's definitely above average. That's, I think, how I would summarize Central Hyrule, with some nice hints to older Zelda games. Hyrule Castle being a very, very strong section of the game. I'm looking for this Korok puzzle, by the way, at the same time. It's somewhere up here, I know it, but sometimes can be hard to find. So overall, that's why I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Next up to the right, we got the Lanayru Tower. And Zora's Domain is a beautiful place. However, casually, getting to Zora's domain was awful. When it was constantly raining and there were like electric enemies and it was just pain. I'm sure some of you agree, the initial approach to Zora's domain is very awful and I didn't enjoy it at all. However, once you get to Zora's domain and you get to do the first big Divine Beast quest with Vah Ruta, explore the history of that place and the backstory between Mipha and Link, Lanayru becomes a much stronger region. We have these big mountains like the Polymus Mountain, the first big Lionel fight. All of those things together make Lanayru a much stronger region and also a little bit better than average in my opinion. I would probably also give it a 6 out of 10. Not a super standout for me, not quite a 7 or 8 like we had in Akkala, but it's up there, it's above average. So Lanayru will get a 6 out of 10 for me for those reasons. I could go into more detail here, but obviously time is kind of limited. Now we're gonna go to the left again here and we're gonna go to the Gerudo Tower. The Gerudo Tower is kind of interesting in how it works. I'm pretty sure the Gerudo Tower basically unlocks everything in this canyon up here. When the Wasteland Tower is the one that actually unlocks the desert and then even all the way up into Yiga Hideout. So it's kind of hard to rate this. The Gerudo Tower is in a pretty cool location, kind of in this huge pit, kind of standing up on it. But Gerudo Highlands are such an annoying region, at least casually to traverse. It has similar issues. It doesn't get as foggy as Hebra gets, and it has some cool lore to it, like the 7th heroine who's standing here, the big sword, which I think is positioned here, to explore and such. But honestly, I think this is another candidate for... I think I'm not gonna go lower than 3. By the way, with my ratings, because all areas have at least something memorable. But I think this is another 3 out of 10 for me. It would technically be just above Eldin, but because if we take it seriously, the Gerudo Tower doesn't actually unlock the Divine Beast Vana Boris side quest, which would be part of it. It doesn't even have the strengths that the Eldin Tower has with the Divine Beast Varudania side quest. So that all of those things considered, it's actually also a 3 out of 10. And I would rank it slightly above Eldin because it's a little bit more fun in speedruns, but that's unfortunately the best I can do. However, the Wasteland Tower is another interesting candidate. I might be slightly wrong about this here. I could double check on the object map, but if I'm wrong, this is just a daily for fun video. I'm pretty sure the Wasteland Tower is what unlocks the desert, and also these areas of the map. And even the Yiga Hideout. So technically it's part of the region that the Vana Boris side quest plays in, which is a pretty good Divine Beast side quest. I really like Urbosa as a character. Probably one, if not my favorite character in the game. Outside of like Zelda, I guess, and Link, which Link is not really a character, but I just like Link, you know, I spend time with Link every day. He's kind of my friend at this point. Definitely not parasocial, by the way. But the Wasteland Tower is, because of that, a little bit stronger than the Gerudo Tower. The desert is... I don't know. The desert is obviously very empty for how big it is, which makes sense for a desert. And there is still some nice nooks. If you look in the nooks and crannies, I think English is not my first language, please excuse me. You can find some cool things like the skeleton up here and the fairy fountain, this Molduga puzzle, the Ice House side quest, and obviously the 7 heroines, which is a pretty cool area, absolutely lovely area actually to look at. But yeah, it's kind of whatever. You know what? I do have to quickly check something. I have to check if I was wrong or right about which... I'm gonna go to the object map here real quick. I want to check here. Map tower areas. Okay, yeah, I was correct. So the Wasteland Tower is what unlocks the desert and the Gerudo Tower is just what unlocks the canyon. So yeah, that's my rating. Wasteland Tower, 6 out of 10, above average. Cool story quest, some nice things to remember in the desert. And then Gerudo Tower, unfortunately, 3 out of 10. It basically only has the canyon. The only fond memory I have of this canyon is the Kehayok Shrine, where you fire an electric arrow against a wall. And it felt pretty cool to... It wasn't that hard to figure out. There was literally huge sparks. But it was a cool moment of the game. And then the dragon flies around here too. So that's what makes it slightly better than Eldin. But that's gonna be it. Now, the Great Plateau Tower is... probably, and you might make fun of me, because speedrunners tend to dislike the Great Plateau because of how much time they spent on it in speedruns. But the Great Plateau Tower to me is probably a 7 out of 10. It's not quite the amazing area that, in my opinion, Akkala is, but I do actually like the Great Plateau. It is, in my opinion, a perfect tutorial for an amazing game. It has a little bit of everything: a cold area, a forest area, a temple area, introductory shrines. Like, I feel like I have to give it a 7 out of 10. It's actually quite solid, and I unironically enjoy it. And that's why the Great Plateau is a 7 out of 10 for me. Even though I spend so much time on this place, all of my speedruns start there, and I've done it for so long, but I still enjoy it enough. And to the right of that, we have the Dueling Peaks Tower. And the Dueling Peaks Tower unlocks everything around Kakariko, also Kakariko itself, and the Dueling Peaks Mountains, which are a very, very impressive landscape in Hyrule. I love the way they look. It also unlocks the area where a battle took place a long time ago, where you eventually unlock the final memory, which is a huge highlight of the game for me. Kakariko is a beautiful city. There's amazing quests there. I like that entire area aesthetically. I like the mountains a lot. I like... what is that called? I think it's called... I need to get rid of these tower areas again to actually see it. No, okay, maybe it's only, maybe I can zoom in myself. Here, Ash Swamp, the Ash Swamp and this battle scenery here, this is all unlocked through the Dueling Peaks Tower. Like it a lot, 7 out of 10 for me as well. I'm almost recording 20 minutes, so I'm gonna have to hurry up a little bit, and I'm not even close to 13%, but if we don't make it to 13% today, that's fine. Next area, after Dueling Peaks, to the right, we got Hateno Tower. Hateno Tower is amazing. Hateno is probably the best city in the game. It's very aesthetic, reminds me a lot of Ghibli movies. I really love Hateno. Link has his own house there. It's great to live in Hateno. Big fan. It also unlocks Lanayru Mountain. Or Mount Lanayru, which I, again, should probably double check. But yeah, this is correct. Hateno Tower does unlock this mountain, which has the Nadra chase sequence, which is absolutely lovely to play. Such an epic moment. Everyone that played this game likely remembers freeing Nadra of the Malice in this epic chase down the mountain. Big fan. And that's why Hateno Tower is probably, oh, it's close. But I think it's another 8 out of 10 for me, all things considered. Love Hateno. Beautiful city. Love the Nadra sequence. Love having my own house here. Oh, the Lanayru Promenade is also part of it. Such a cool area. Such a cool area. I also fought my first Lionel here, so I might be a little bit biased. But actually, Hateno Tower is going to be an 8 out of 10 for me. Probably slightly behind Akkala, but it's up there. Now, we're going to get to the final areas. There's only 2 areas left. The Lake Tower and the Faron Tower. The Lake Tower for me is probably a 4 out of 10. It's slightly below average. We got the Lake of Hylia, which is cool and stuff, and some cool areas to explore, but it's just almost forgettable that the lake region is even a region. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. The Bridge of Hylia is cool and stuff, but nothing really sticks or stands out for me that I really liked about this region. So it's just going to be below average. Not as bad as the bad areas that I don't like as much, but below average, so 4 out of 10. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about Faron Tower because it's my favorite region in the game. And I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. With the only downsides to this area being rain and performance. Faron in general, the jungle, is amazing. I love the jungle of Faron, but just like so many other people, I dislike the fact that it constantly rains there, and the area seems to want you to constantly scale terrain. Like, it seems like everything you ever do in this area, the game asks you, yo, please climb something, but you can't because it's raining, and that's extremely frustrating, I will definitely admit. But it's obviously, especially right now, with Tears of the Kingdom coming up, it's such an interesting area with the Zonai ruins, all of the history, all of the mystery. In this jungle. It's unfortunate that it tends to be quite laggy, because that would make exploring that area even better, but it's so interesting to me. I'm the most fascinated by far by the Faron jungle region. Now, this would be an 8 out of 10, but the reason this is a 9 out of 10 is because the Faron Tower also unlocks an Occluder region, which is the area here. This is this has stuff like Eventide Island. Super memorable experience, such a cool quest, some people's favorite quest. Another reason this is not a 10 out of 10 is because Lurline itself, the city, for some reason thought it was a cool idea not to include an armor shop, even though I really wanted a specific Lurline armor. I'm still mad to this day that this is not the case. It's fine. But another great thing about Necluda down here is its sunsets. To this day, I use in my YouTube outro a nice background shot of the Necluda region, where the sun is setting. It's beautiful looking. They really made sure to make that area look extra impressive. I'm trying to save some arrows here, so I'm using bombs. They made it especially beautiful looking, and I'm a big... How did I miss that? And I'm a big fan of the area aesthetically. Probably my favorite area aesthetically because of those beautiful sunsets. And then again, Faron is just so interesting, and that might be a little bit unfair because of how relevant that entire area seems now with Tears of the Kingdom in mind, which is a game we're all looking forward to. But Faron is my favorite region of the game, 9 out of 10. I just rated every single area in Breath of the Wild while playing the game and 100%ing it. We made it to 12.8%. I'll try to focus a little bit more on Koroks tomorrow and make it up to 14, but I think this is a good point to stop. Thank you guys for watching. Tears of the Kingdom comes out in 164 days. If you want to, I'll see you tomorrow, and have a good rest of your day.